Get strong.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Beautiful Bag Podcast. I am your host, LeeAnne Hayden, and I am coming to you from my office in the Lofts. So I should say office, studio, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, it's so good to be here with you guys this week, and I have so much to celebrate. So this is going to be a special episode because the day that this is releasing is going to be my 9th year Stomaversary. That's right. 9 years with Ivan, my stoma. And guys, it's such a great feeling. 9 years. I've had 9 additional years into my life that I didn't know if I was going to have or not. So what this episode is going to be about is we're going to celebrate that. It's been a long time since I've told my full story here on the episode. If you've heard it before, yeah, maybe you'll learn something a little bit more. And if you haven't, well, hello, let me introduce myself. For some reason, some of the earlier episodes got lost somewhere in Apple Podcast land and on Spotify. Like, it just got lost from the old hosting company I had. So now we're going to redo some of them. And if I can find some on my computer, I will upload them. However, that is not what this week is about. You know, the other day I was at the gym, and you guys know I go to the gym all the time, right? So I'm back to it's New Year, but I pretty much lift weights all the time. So I was at the gym, and this woman, Phyllis, said to me, you know, I see you on Facebook. Like, what do you do? I saw you showing off like an outfit that you wear to the gym. And what's that thing that you said? Maybe I need it because you have a flat stomach, and maybe I need that too. And all of a sudden I had to say, well, I had cancer, and that's my colostomy bag. I mean, what was I going to say? It's the truth. It's what it was. And the look on her face, and I go, it's okay. It's so okay. And it made me think that I guess I don't tell my story as often as I should, as a reminder for anyone new who is listening, or for people who have been listening for a while and like me, and I forget your story or following me. You know how that goes. I'm going to share it this week. So here it goes. And I will also, seeing that I use a whole new studio to do this in, I'm going to even share some pictures too, so you guys can see some things from the past. So if you're watching on Spotify, that's where the video is. If you listen on Spotify, you can watch the video there. And you can also watch it on YouTube. I do put it on my YouTube channel, LeeAnne Hayden on YouTube, or you can go right to my website, LeeAnneHayden.com, and you can see, and you can click around and get wherever you need to get to and get all the information you need. There's all kinds of blogs up there too. So anyway, you know, my story starts, it was back in 14. So I was 44 years old. And at the time, let me step back just a little bit further. Back when I met my husband, guys, I was an accountant. I did bookkeeping for people. You know, I was a single mom of my 2 beautiful children, Jess and Bobby. I've mentioned them on the podcast before. So I was a single mom back then. This was 24 years ago, of my 2 beautiful children. You know, I had met John, and I was a bookkeeper at the time. And I remember him saying to me, like, a couple of years later, he's like, why are you a bookkeeper? You've got this personality. Like, you need to be going in front of people. Why don't you get into sales? Make some money. Like, right. So now we're planning on getting married. Like, make us some money. Let's go. Let's use that personality for something. And so I did. I got into corporate sales. And then right before I was turning 40, and I've been a gym buff for the majority of my life. I think I had my first gym membership at the age of 16. I think I was 16 years old with my first gym membership. And I remember I was always going to the gym. However, I put some weight on, whatever. And I said, you know, I want to try and look like some of those girls on the covers of the magazines. And I had mentioned this before. So I did fitness competition. So I signed up to do a fitness competition. I hired a personal trainer, this woman, Lauren, who's become a great friend of mine. And she would train me, and then I belonged to a whole team. Then we all did competitions together, and there was this big group community thing. So, you know, we worked out together in the gym. We got together after hours, after I was done with work. We'd work together on the weekends and all this stuff. So what happened from that point is I got into network marketing, and I put that in quotes because it's direct sales, network marketing, you know, the Avon stuff. And I remember getting into that accidentally. I was had a corporate job, had a corporate sales job, was making great money, was doing this fitness stuff on the side just for my health, for my community, to be around great women. And one day I got an email from the team lead saying, hey, this is the products that we're recommending that you use for protein shakes, blah, blah, blah. So I order a whole bunch of stuff. And then I found out, I'm like, oh, wait, you can make money with this? Oh, wait, I can get my products for free? Like, how do I do that? So then I just started, I had sales background. So then I just started, selling some of the protein shakes, telling people about it, blah, 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 blah. And I remember them dragging me to this event in a hotel room. Have you guys ever been dragged to one of those events and you're like, back in the day, you're like, oh, this Amway Tupperware stuff, like, what am I doing? So I remember being dragged to this event. And I was like, guys, listen, I have a corporate job. I got to take a day off of work, but these are all my girlfriends, right? So I'm going to go do it to hang with the girls. So I go to this event and I see all my friends walking across the stages with these big checks. And I'm like, wait a minute. And my mind starts going and I'm like, hold on. There's money to be made here. I know I'm getting my stuff for free, but there's that kind of money that you can make in this industry. Like, for real? Like, I can do this and have it as my base salary, and then I can do that and then have those as bonuses as like my commissions that I typically was making. I'm like, hold on here. Let me figure this out. So I did. I came home from that and I remember telling John, hey, listen, I'm quitting my job. Guys, seriously, I came home and I'm like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to do this thing, right? Instead. And he looked at me like, no, you're not. Like, no, we have 2 kids like 2 of the 5 kids are in college. Like, they're starting to leave. Like, we need college funds. Like, no. And then he starts laughing. He's like, listen, I have put too much effort into being in sales for you to quit this job to go do this thing. And I went, listen, let me do it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back. But let me prove to you that I can get this done. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back. I'll go back to my corporate sales job. Guys, within a year, I had doubled what I was making at the corporate sales job doing this network marketing thing that I was like, this Tupperware thing, right? But it wasn't Tupperware. It was a different company. So again, anyway, the moral of the story is, so I'm going down this path and I have this great career. Now I'm making all this money. I'm hanging around my girlfriends. I'm working from home. I'm working when I want. Guys, when they tell you like work from anywhere you can, but you work a lot. You work nights, you work weekends, you work a lot to make it happen, to build a business like this. Like, it is an intense industry of a lot of effort. It's not just talking to your friends and family and trying to sell them something that doesn't work. It's not trying to like put people into this pyramid scheme, as people kind of call it. It's literally a business that you need to run. So I'm doing that at the time. So I have all these girlfriends in the fitness world. And at the time, 4 years into it, I see Tyra Banks, the supermodel, post something online. And I'm like, oh, she's selling makeup. That would be fun, right? So I'm doing this health and wellness. I've always been into cosmetics and makeup. Let me go try that. I'll do that. I'll still collect all this money from health and wellness. I'll still keep this business that I've built for 4 years, and let me go and, see what she's doing on this other side. Not really knowing if she's going to do it direct sales or not. So she does. And I'm one of the first 200 people to go and start this cosmetics line with her at the front line, reporting straight to corporate, which is fantastic. So there were 3 large teams, and I was one of the 3 main teams after a few years, right? So start building this business, still have the other one. I'm building away, and I'm rank advancing within Tyra. And so I was going to meet her for the first time. This is how the whole story starts. I was going to meet her for the very first time in person. And at the time, what had happened to me over 3 years was every 6 months, I was gaining like 5 pounds every 6 months. And I couldn't figure out why. And I was growing a stomach, like I was starting to get a belly, and I'll put a picture in here of what my belly ended up looking like. And I'm like, I started growing a belly, and I'm like, what is happening? And John says to me, I think you must be allergic to wine. And I'm like, hush your mouth, because I love my wine. There is no way I'm allergic to that. Like, there's just no way. And I was uncomfortable down there. And guys, if this is you, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk about some personal stuff. Ladies, you're going to understand the stories. I was just uncomfortable down there. Like, things didn't fit the way they used to fit. Like, it was just uncomfortable. So my friend Paula, who I was doing the business with, said to me, hey, LeeAnne, you can't go meet Tyra Banks for the very first time feeling uncomfortable. I thought maybe I had a UTI or something. She's like, you can't go meet her feeling uncomfortable. Thank you, P. I love you to pieces for this. She goes, you got to go to the doctor. So I make an appointment and I'm laying there. So I get to the gynecologist and I'm laying, ladies, you'll get this. I'm laying on the table. My feet are in the stirrups, that vulnerable place that you're in the doctors. She comes in and she's doing her exam. And then she goes to feel around and she's patting the top of my stomach, right? So you guys will see hands here patting my stomach, right? So she's feeling and she goes, what the hell is that? And I literally lifted my head up, looked at her in a crunch and went, what the hell is what? And she goes, I don't know. Something's here. I don't know what it is. Let's do an echo. So they bring the echo in and they go to do the echo and she gets the whole recording and then she comes out and she goes, okay, let's take a look at it together. So we're looking at it and she goes, okay, so I think it might just be a cyst. It's about the size of a racquetball. And she's like, I think it might just be a cyst. Look, it doesn't look like there's any blood flowing to it. It's a little weird. I don't know. But let's make sure that it's not anything other than that. So I'm going to set you up with an oncologist. Do you want to go to Boston or do you want to go up to Dartmouth in Hanover, New Hampshire? And I'm like, you know what? Let's go to Dartmouth up in Hanover, New Hampshire instead of Boston, right? I didn't feel like driving in and out of the city at the time. And so, but I say to her, can I still go meet Tyra? Like, can I still get on a plane? Like, I'm supposed to fly to California. It's a free trip. I earned it. Like, can I still go do this thing? Like, this is cool. This is fun. She goes, absolutely. Wear some compression socks in case. Like, again, just be a little cautious. So I go, come back, go have the best time in the world, meet her, meet a whole bunch of people, like amazing trip, come back. We go through the tests. So I go through all these tests and I'm meeting with the oncologist and they're like, we're not sure. We think it really is just a cyst. Like, it doesn't look like it can be anything but that. So here's what we're going to do. Because of let's go get some genetic testing done because your family has history of cancer. Let's make sure there's nothing else going on that you may have. So they do this genetic testing. And what comes out of that is we find out that I have what's known as Lynch syndrome. So Lynch syndrome is passed down from a parent. It's a 50% chance that you can pass it down generation to generation. We don't know which of my it came from my mother's side because my mother since has been tested and all of her family is the one with the cancer. So there's many more people that have been tested since. And so we don't know, above that where it came from. So anyways, I have this Lynch syndrome and with Lynch syndrome, and I have the lowest strain, which is a good thing of what you can do. And what Lynch syndrome is it creates cancer and it creates cancer either in your uterus, like your uterus, ovaries, your whole female reproduction, right? Parts, colon cancer. Those are the two biggest ones. So uterine, colon. It can happen in other areas, but very, very minimal, like, kidneys, bladder, that, all your other organs. Very, very minimal. The top two are these, right? And again, it's a rare condition. It's not something that's really well known. Well, here's the thing. So we go into the surgery and I'm like, okay, so I'm having the surgery. And what we decided to do was do a full hysterectomy. I'm 44 years old. Full hysterectomy. And we're going to get the cyst out at the same time. Right? That's the plan. So I go into this surgery, I wake up from it, and she's like, okay, I have good news and I have bad news. I said, okay, well, let's give it to me all. Give it all to me. Let me see. What do we got? What are we working with? She goes, so took everything out from the hysterectomy and everything is clean. No signs of anything in any of those organs. Okay, that's good, right? However, two things. One, whatever that was that we saw seems to have shifted way down into your pelvis floor, like way down in your pelvis floor. And we couldn't get to it. I called in another surgeon and he suggested we let you heal from this surgery and then we will take a look, do a few more tests, and then we'll go after it. We don't know if it's just a cyst anymore. It could potentially be something more. So I'm like, okay. And heal. So now all of a sudden it's hello menopause, right? 44 years old, forced menopause. It's just happening right away. The hot sweats, all the things. Anyways, I take hormone replacements and I have since then to be able to help me with with that situation. So anyways, back to the story. Crazy thing. So I'm getting these tests. We get a couple of different biopsies done on them where it's now starting to come back. It's cancer, it's malignant, it's a sarcoma tumor, but we're not quite sure which one it is. Chemo radiation's definitely not going to help shrink it to be able to surgically remove it. Like we can't get, douse you with it. If it does get into your bloodstream at some point, then we'd have to go after it with chemo and radiation, like aggressively to get to it. So all of this is happening. And I'm still trying to live my life and be positive and, have some grace to it, because at the end of the day, what I thought is, this is it. Like, if I have children, right? I have a family, I have people who love me, I have parents, I have friends, I have a good life and I want to keep living it. And guys, let me back up for a second. A couple of really crazy things that happened to me prior to finding the cancer. I read avidly. I am an avid reader. I love books, and I will read fiction, and I will read nonfiction, and I will read history, and I will read biographies, and I will read everything under the sun. Well, except for horror movies. I don't like that. I don't like horror books or movies. But I said to my husband, John, in August, right? So September, they find the cyst, but August, the month before, I said to John in his office, I'm like, I know a book I've never read. He said, what? No, I've gone to church, right? As a kid, I was Catholic. I baptized my kids, first communion, the whole thing, did the whole thing. I knew that there's something else, but I'm like, what? I've never read the Bible, I went to church, but I really didn't understand what they were saying to me. So I open up the Bible in August and I start to read the Bible. And I come into John's office and I'm like, after I read the first few pages of Genesis, and I'm like, whoa, like the big man upstairs, he's mean. He's drowning people. He's burning people. Like, what in the world? What? I think I'm going to go into the New Testament because that's it seems kinder in a way, right? Seriously, it was like my whole thing. I'm like, I need to understand this more. Like, why? What? I need to get this. And so what happened to me from that point on is I read that Bible. Every single day I'd read a few chapters. Every single day I would read a few chapters. I didn't understand it. I would ask questions. And then I started talking. I started praying a little bit, like talking to God, being like, hey, listen, like, what's up? Like, what's up with that? So let me fast forward. So that's what I started to do. So now I'm between these two surgeries, right? Have the hysterectomy surgery. And now I'm getting ready to go into this major surgery where they're going to go and try and remove this tumor. And the tumor keeps growing. So it was a racquetball. It was growing, and it was growing fast. And I felt in those couple of months, the 8 weeks that I needed to heal from one to get to the other, I felt like I was being drained of my energy. I just felt I was getting tired more. It was like, and I kept saying, I have cancer. Cancer doesn't have me, which means I'm still in control of my life. And I remember a couple of times, and I'm sharing a whole bunch of stuff, guys. I don't even think I've ever shared some of this stuff before, but I remember a few times where there was one night I was laying in bed and I was woken up in the middle of the night. I woke up in the middle of the night for some reason. And I heard a voice, and I heard the voice say, get on your knees. And I always joke with this. I'm like, it wasn't John. Try to make light of a situation. I joke. But I heard this voice say, get on your knees. And I just rolled out of bed and got on my knees. I just obeyed. And I didn't really understand what I was obeying or why I was doing it. I just knew I needed to do it. So I roll out of bed, I get on my knees, and I just start praying. I don't remember what I prayed. I don't remember what I said. I don't remember anything. I just remember praying and feeling a little more comfortable, right? Just a little more energy, a little less drained. And I go back to sleep, and I wake up the next day and I'm feeling better. Like I'm feeling a little better. Like I said, I felt like, okay, I'm still scared, but I'm a little less scared in that moment. Then comes surgery day. January 15th, the day this episode is popping, 9 years ago, January 15th. I go into surgery, and I remember getting ready for the surgery, and I just was scared, guys. Like, it's surgery. I don't know what this thing is. We don't know what we're going to go in and find. They had told me the potential of potentially having an ostomy bag. And guys, remember, I did these fitness competitions. I was in the gym all the time. I really did not want this ostomy. Like, I was one of those, like, do not do this to me, man. Like, don't. I do not want an ostomy bag. I do not want a poop bag hanging off my stomach. I like being in a bathing suit. I don't want to smell. I don't want like any of this stuff. Like, because what did I do? I didn't know anything about an ostomy or a stoma. It wasn't like it was now. 9 years ago, I Googled it and I was like, oh my word, I do not want that. And I remember my surgeon yelling at me. Like he literally had to, well, I say yell, but it was raised his voice. And he really had to say to me, hey, LeeAnne, listen, my job is to save your life. I haven't slept in 2 weeks thinking about your specific surgery and how I'm getting that thing out of you. So if you wake up and you're in a colostomy bag, if you wake up and you're in a bag, it's the last resort. It's the last thing that I had no other choice. My job is to save you. And it was almost like something clicked. I'm like, oh, okay, let's not think about that. This is a big if. If I wake up with an ostomy, that's it. I never really asked any other questions. Placement, nothing. Like I didn't get it. So I'm getting ready to be wheeled into this surgery and I'm scared. And ladies and gentlemen, all of a sudden, I felt a hand on my right shoulder, like this on my right shoulder. I felt the pressure of a hand holding my shoulder. And all I can tell you is I felt this peace go from the top of my head through my entire body and to my toes. And what I felt was just peace and calm. And I knew in that moment that no matter what happened to me, no matter what happened to me in that surgery, no matter if I was in an ostomy, no matter if I woke up or didn't get a chance to wake up from it, no matter what happened, I was going to be okay. I was peaceful. I was calm. He was with me. He was with me. He was right there. Remember looking to my right and he's standing there, but he's not there. And if you know what I mean, and if you have this kind of anything like this has ever happened to you before, I want you to put a comment below. I want you to send me an email. I want you to tell me your stories. He was with me and I knew I was going to be okay. I knew it in that moment. I go into this surgery and they go and so my oncologist is in there, the colorectal surgeon's in there. There's 12 other surgeons in there, I guess. I was out for 9 hours as they tried to dig this tumor from my pelvis floor out and get it. So what we discovered, so they got it out. And I remember there's so many conversations, but let's talk about me waking up first and then I'll talk to you about it. So I wake up from this surgery. I'm all drugged out and typically I don't remember anything. When they put you out, like you talk to me right away and I don't have a clue. I remember waking up and I remember looking over, my surgeon was there waking me up. He's like, hey, and I'm like, hey. First thing I said to him, did we get the effer? Did we get him? Did we get it? And he nodded his head. He said, yes, we got it. And we got it all. And I remember smiling and that was it. And he looked at me and he nodded and he went to walk away. And all of a sudden I'm watching him walk away and he stops and he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, oh, I'll tell you later. And in that moment, that's when it clicked. I'm like, oh, I'm in a bag. I'm in a bag. And I remember from right after that, John comes in to see me. And I looked at him and I didn't say, my poor husband, I didn't say, hi, honey, I love you. Like nothing. I just looked at him and I went, I'm in a bag, aren't I? And he was sad and he nodded and he said, yes, honey, you are. And I said, okay. So I'm supposed to go to California next week. Guys, I said this. I'm supposed to go to California next Saturday because Tyra's having another big event and I'm supposed to train on stage. I'm supposed to do all this stuff. So I need to get out of here. I need to get up. I need to get out of here. I need to get going. And he was like, okay, honey. Okay. So I go to my room. Now, over the next few days, guys, I literally did tell my surgeon, hey, listen, dude, I'm going to California next week. And he's like, you're in the hospital till Friday. You're not flying on Saturday. I go, so surgery was on a Friday. He said I was going to be in the hospital till Friday. So he had me in the hospital for a week. I go, No way, man. I'm out of here on Monday. Like Monday, I am up, I am out of here. Saturday, I was up walking the halls because I remember my mother said to me, because my mother was a surgical nurse, right? And my mother was a nurse on a surgical floor. And she would say, the very first thing you need to do after surgeries, any kind of surgeries, is get up, get walking, and get that anesthesia out of your body. All I knew I needed to do, gotta get up, I gotta move, I gotta get up, I gotta move, right? And so I did that. And so while I was in the hospital, the times in the hospital, my doctor, so I had things right, so things happen when you're in a hospital. They're trying to explain things, you really don't understand what they're saying to you, because you still get drugs running through your body. And I remember a few things. One, this tumor, he had taken a picture of it and he sent it to me, so I had it, I have it on my phone. And if you like gory pictures, I hate horror movies, but I have a picture of my tumor on my phone. It was the size of a Nerf football. It was 6 inches long and 4 inches wide. So from September to January, it grew from racquetball size to Nerf football size in my pelvis floor. This thing wanted to take over and it wasn't allowed to. It definitely was a sarcoma tumor. They think it was multiple cancers put together and contained in this one mass, because they've never seen it before. It was like this riddle. What do you say? My surgeon said I was an enigma, a riddle wrapped in an enigma, but they got it all. So no chemo, no radiation, nothing. They got it all in that one fell swoop, right? So when they did have to take that tumor out, they had to take my rectal muscles with me, hence why I lost about a foot of my colon so they could make the stoma, and then took out, again, like everyone else with an ostomy, my anus. They sewed me up like Barbie butt, got the Barbie butt going on, like in that moment. So I'm sewed up back here, I'm sewed up here, all things. And I remember being in the hospital, and there's a few things that I remember going through my head being in the hospital. Was the first bag change. Now, John was in the room with me, and the nurse comes in, she goes, okay, we're gonna change your bag for the very first time. And I'm like, okay. And John got up and left the room. My first reaction, my first thought was, oh my God, I'm ugly. I smell. He doesn't want to be around me. This is awful. Like that whole thought process of that not understanding, right? Because it's new, and I'm like, oh my God, he's leaving. Well, it's a good thing him and I have a great communicate. We have great communication, because we had a whole conversation about it. And he's like, I was just giving you privacy. He's like, it's not like you stand in the bathroom while I'm sitting on the toilet taking a poo, right? He's like, I was just giving you privacy. Make sure you have conversations with your family, right? Because they need to understand certain things so that you understand it. Because I just remember I'm going to be ugly. The whole thought about an ostomy, ugly, smelly, stinky, can't do anything anymore. And none of that's really true. None of it's really true. There are moments when I will stink because I have broccoli and it comes through the filter at people. Like that whole green monster comes up when it starts to go. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Very rare. And it seems to only happen when I have broccoli or within the first few months of having your ostomy. Like the smell, it gets better, people. So if you're new to having an ostomy, the smell does get better, except when you're doing your actual bag changes. Then it smells like anybody else's, right? So, but I remember that. And they did the bag change and they showed me what to do. And then I'm home. I leave on Tuesday. I'm out of the hospital on Tuesday. Guys, my oncologist gave me permission to get to go to California on Saturday. She looked at him and she goes, so did my surgeon. They gave me permission. They said, you need to rest. You can't be running around. You can't be crazy. Like you have stitches everywhere. Please just be careful. John's like, I'm going with her. She's got a team that's going to be with her. I had a bunch of friends with me. Like this isn't going to be a party. We're going to take care of her. She's going to go. She's going to enjoy herself. But it was probably the best thing I could have done for my mental state, because I remember sitting in that room at this moment when she went to change my bag and John had walked out, and this was before we had talked. And I remember that awful feeling of dread. Like there was just this feeling of dread that started coming over me. It was like this black cloud was coming at me, right? And all of a sudden I just closed my eyes and I said, God, please, please don't let the darkness take me away. Please don't let the darkness take me away. And I remember seeing this white cloud just come from the other side, almost like blew the dark cloud away. I know I'm talking like, this is weird to me. Like if I didn't understand, if it didn't happen to me, I'd be like, whoa, she's a little woo-hoo out there, woo-woo. But that's some of the things that happened to me. And so I just felt this, I'm like, I'm okay. Why? Like, I'm okay. And so every time I think like certain things go on in my life now, I'm like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Anyways, leave the hospital, get home, very first shower. Guys, coming home from the hospital, you know what I mean when you go to get in the shower for the very first time and you want to just wash your hair and you want to get the hospital smell off of you and you just want to feel good, right? Clean. I took the bag off. I took a bagless shower. First time, bagless shower, right? Probably not the smartest thing to do, but I did. And I remember going in the shower and I'm so clean and I feel so good. And then I look down on my foot and I start to cry because there's poo on my foot in the shower. And I had just cleaned myself off. And I remember I'm crying and John comes running into the bathroom. He's like, honey, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm so clean. I have myself all clean and now I got poo on my foot and you need to come help me. Like, I need a bag and you gotta cut a hole with the thing and the right? I'm like hysterical. And he goes, I got this, I got this. And he goes running, right? Running into the bedroom and he gets the bag and he cuts, he goes, okay, come on, I'll put this on you. Like, what do I need to do? And he's so like proud of himself, right? And I lay on the bed, I'm like, you gotta just put it in the hole in the thing and over the stoma, right? Guys, he puts it on. And I looked down. This isn't gonna work. He didn't just cut a hole in the flange part, guys. He cut a hole in the whole plastic part too. You know, why when you go home in those clear bags, he cut the whole hole. So there was like nothing protected. This isn't gonna work. And so he had to go ahead and we cut it again. We fixed it. We figured it out. And now we laugh about it because I tell the story. I'm like, I remember how it was hysterical. Like I was out of control, hysterical. And we learn things, right? We've learned things over the time, over the years as you go through this. I mean, you guys have your stories. I've got mine. And so now it's like, I go to California. I fly to California. I go to this event. Tyra's up on stage. She looks down. She's like, I can't believe you're even here. There was only probably about 160 to 100 people in the room. She's looking at me. She's, LeeAnne, I can't believe you're here. But they all surrounded me. And it was like this big community. And I love that. That's one of the things I love about like network marketing, direct sales. It's the community. Even like in my fitness days, just competing and being around people that are a lot like you. This is why I love our community. This is why I love the Ostomy community. We understand each other. We get each other. We're around each other. We take care of each other. We lift each other up when we need to. And I just love being around communities like that. And I love being around people like that. And I surround myself with like, from the last 9 years, I've surrounded myself with people like that. I mean, 9 years. I have so many stories to tell. Leaks that happen, accidents that happen. Basically, but I'll tell you, if I've ever had a leak, it was my fault. I just did something wrong. I personally did. It was, either I cut the flange too wide, right? So I didn't get a pre-cut. You can get pre-cut flanges. I didn't get a pre-cut flange. I used to cut my own flanges, but I cut it too wide. So my skin was showing a little bit. So poo, stool got underneath the flange and then it would start to leak and push, right? Again, lessons you learn as you go. Another leak that I had was because I was trying to learn to irrigate. So if you have a colostomy bag, one thing you can do is you can irrigate. Basically, you're giving yourself an enema through your stoma, flushing everything out. There's a whole way to do it. You flush everything out, and then you don't have to worry about poo coming out for a few days, sometimes a day, sometimes two, right? So, and then you can kind of almost train your colon what to do. So I did that. I actually did that for a couple of years, like 3 years, I think, of the 9. I used to do that all the time. But I was in the bathroom every other day or every 2 to 3 days for an hour, just standing there. I'd read a book, whatever, and flush it out. And then I would put covers on it, stoma covers. Most times it worked. There was a couple of times it didn't work, where there was still water in my colon and it came out later on in the day in a place where I didn't want that to happen, and it pushed through the stoma cap, right? So then it came out. Again, things can happen, but if you have the right appliance for you have the flange cut right, you change the appliance, every few days. But as the years get older, your colon starts to get trained. Like I do go throughout the day, but the majority of it is in the morning. Get up, have a cup of coffee, and the majority of it pushes through, but you learn those things over the 9 years. And it's the reason why I created this podcast. It's one of the reasons I created this podcast, because I didn't want us to know that we were by ourselves, because we're not. And there's so many stories. And this year we're going to get back to some interviews, yes, and other people's stories and all of that fun loving stuff. But today we're going to celebrate me. Sorry, but I celebrate it because I feel like I've got that second chance at this life, and I'm doing everything. In these last 9 years, I've done so much stuff, like so much stuff. I watched the oldest get married. I have 2 grandchildren now. I have taken trips, like solo trips took my daughter to Italy, took my mother to Italy, or went with them to Italy, right? Just the 2 of us each having our own trips. I went to Italy for a month by myself just because I wanted to see it. John was too busy working, so I wanted to see it. So I went by myself. John and I have taken trips everywhere. I mean, we upped and sold the house after the kids moved out, and we went and lived in Manhattan for 3 years and had so much fun there. Acted like we were in our 20s for the most part. I've had different job opportunities that have come up. I've had different businesses that I've been involved in. I've got a new one that I'm starting that I'm really, really excited about. I created this podcast. I do a lot of work with Hollister. I'm an ambassador for them. And that's a whole nother story we're going to get into at some point, if you ever want to be a part of something and contribute. And so it's like I work with Hollister hand in hand. I have my other businesses. I've traveled so many places with this ostomy, like so many. I traveled all over the country. I traveled to Hawaii. I've gone to California a bazillion times. I've gone to, all over this country. I've gone over to Europe, like all the things. There's so much you can do. And there's so much more that's coming down the road in this lifetime. And I am leaving nothing on the table. So when my time comes, when I'm 112, because that's how old I'm going to live, when I'm 112 and my time comes, I want to go home to my father and I want him to say, "Good job, good and faithful child." Like, good job. You did it all. You gave it your all. You did it your all. That is what I look at every day. Do I have bad days? Yes, we all do. We all have a bad day. But I know I'm here for a purpose and a reason, and I'm going to make the best of every single situation that I can, every time that I can. And I hope and I pray that you do the same. Anyways, guys, thank you for hanging in with me for the last 40 minutes. I really do love each and every one of you. I think you are all so amazing at everything that you do every single day in your life. And I love being part of this community with you. So let's enjoy our day, enjoy our week, and we will be back next week with another episode of the Beautiful Bang podcast. And next week will be an interview, and so you can hear someone else's story. But I figured it was time that I shared my entire story. I think I told you everything. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your day.
These testimonials are representative of my or our experiences, but the exact results and experience will be unique and individual to each person. The information provided herein is not medical advice and is not intended to substitute for the advice of your personal physician or other healthcare providers.